Hello everyone, welcome to Premium Museum. Today I'll be showcasing Steam Maidens. Steam Maidens is a combo-oriented deck that aims to multi-attack by calling cards from the bind zone. Its main vanguard is Steam Maiden Elu, who can help set up your combos and is also a free multi-attack extender. The other Steam Maidens we are running is Demon Elu, who at the end of the battle that she attacked, you can canvas one and bind herself to then call a grade 2 for your bind zone. The grade 2 you mainly want to be calling is Steam Maiden Alu, who can bind a card from drop to gain power equal to its grade. And you can also bind herself to then choose a grade 3 card from your bind zone and call it to your guard. Right. Which in most cases is Uru herself, as she gains power equal to the number of cards in your bind zone, both on Vanguard Circle and Rearguard Circle. The last teammate we are running is teammate Antarana, who has a very powerful effect, well, multiple effects. She can, when placed, canvas one, search for Geared Cat traveling with the storm, and call it. Gear Cat's ability is that when it's called on Vanguard Circle or Rearguard Circle, you can look at top three and add a Steam Maiden from among them to your hand. And then you can use Eternal's second effect to then select one, reveal the top two cards from your deck, uh, add one of them to your hand and bind the rest. She essentially goes +3 on her own. And with because of her at plus one other cards are not that I'm not going to mention in this video. Steam Maidens became a very powerful tier 1 deck Imperium until Bushy eventually hit this card to 1. Yeah. The other grade 2s we're running is Steamseer Alaknar. He's our ride finder. I'm forgetting the community agreed name for these, but regardless, you can use his effect to help search for any grade 1s or grade 2s you're missing early on. And you can also use his other effect that when he attacks for boosted, you can seal time leap by bot attacking one of your rearguards and then calling a card with grade +1 of the rearguard you called. The last grade 2 we're running is Steam Mechanic Nabu, who, when it attacks a Vanguard, you can bind a card from drop to then force your opponent to not be able to call grade 1 or greater cards from their hand. She can then put herself to solo and draw 1 at the end of the battle. She essentially serves 3 functions. One, to help set up your bind zone by binding a card and drop. 2, to provide soul. And 3, to also provide a bit of draw power. As in most cases, you're calling her off of an effect. For grade 1s, we're obviously running Elementar Sanctitude, the aforementioned Gear Cat, which can get power equal to the number of cards in your bind zone, uh, the aforementioned Elu, and also Lost Gear God 8, Lost Gear Dog, not God, 8, who can help search for any grade 3s you need. We are also running Retroactive Time Maiden Uluru, as she is a 25k shield a card that you and can potentially help you recycle a card that you want back in deck. And we're also running TikTok Worker as a free attack extender. For our trigger lineup, we are running 4 strike crits, 4 heal guards, 1 dark safety, 3 strike crits, 3 draw crits, and then 1 pulsar bombard hog, who you can bind yourself to countercharge 1, which is sometimes needed as this deck can go through a lot of CV Force combos. And lastly, we have our starter, cute little Chrono Jan. That's the main part of the deck. However, we are running a secondary package to help with 2 problems the main deck has. One is that you don't have a good turn 3 play, and another is that you struggle into Honolulu a lot, considering that every multi-attack you do needs CB, and every attack after that would also cost CB. For that reason, we are running a V Chronojet as with him and Time Reaper. You can ride Chronojet, get a force marker, go into Time Leaper, turn a grade 1 job on board into Atrana to gain a lot of advantage, and then at the end of your turn, you can ride back down to Jet and generate another force marker. And this line allows you to make 2 force markers and generate advantage with Atrana, which can help you survive until you can start stratting. The second thing running Jet enables is that he allows you to run Chronovisor Heritage, who can turn skip your opponent once you meet his conditions. And sorry. Okay. And because you turn skip your opponent, any homilies they have on board would be reset. And if your opponent removed the homily from game, then that homily's effect would have been turned off. So then you can continue your combo. To use this effect, you need 4 other Zodiac Time Beasts in your G zone. So to that effect, we're running Chrono Dragon Gear Groovy, as he can not only we're running Chrono Dragon Gear Groovy as 2 as he's a very powerful card that can copy strides, heights, and also plays around Harley as instead of multi-attacking with your rearguards, you instead focus on your 2 Vanguard attacks, which you can get from copying Chrono Dragon next stage. We're running Meta Pulsar Honglong, not only as our 3rd Zodiac Time Beast, but also as our secondary Gear Groovy copy. Card to be copied by Gear Groovy. For our last Zodiac Time Beast, we're running Pulse Saver Ilishu, who can gain shield corresponding to the number of cards you have in your bind zone. For the rest of our stride load, we are running our main stride Slishima, who can bind a front row rear guard and flip a card face up to then call 2 cards from your bind zone and give your front row power. She essentially just She essentially allows you to set up your Steam Maiden line of your grade 1 going to your grade 2 and then going to the grade 3. Additionally, she has the effect that while she's face up in the G zone, at the end of the round, your grade 3 rearguard attack, you can bind that grade 3 rearguard and call her from the G zone to rear, essentially allowing you to further extend your attacks. We are running one Grogrok as in the scenario where you're under Hanoi but you're not on Jet, but instead on Elu. You can go into Grogrok and do two Vanguard attacks that way, potentially also riding into Jet that way so that you can then go into Gear Groovy next turn. For our G guards, we're running one History Vision, two Bearlock, who can call himself out from the G zone. We're running our G flip G guards, Time Maiden Eternity Illyru, who can gain a lot of power corresponding to the number of cards we have in our G zone. And lastly, we're running High Power Steam Rafbauna, who can search for our TikTok worker by bot decking a grade 1 or grade card we have on field. And then obviously we're running Harmonic Messiah for the very strong card that it is. So with that, let's go into a game. Alright, our opponent is playing Bermuda. And it looks like our opponent seems to have been having a bad day, but they choose to go first. They use their live finder, drawing grade 1, and drawing to Mistoff. Interesting. Next is our turn. Here, just trying to decide what to ride between Gear Cat or 8. We choose to ride 8. We end up drawing into OT, but we use 8's effect to search for the jet and discard the time keeper driving we have in hand. Pursuing 8 and drive check Gear Cat. They choose to ride up, and it's looking, yeah, it's starting to look a bit like they might be playing Highlander. Here we ride our right skipper, recall Gear Cat, add Ulu from the top 3, and then swing with boost. They choose one pass, and we end up breaking it with a. Alright, yeah, it looks like they are playing Highlander Reindeer, and they end up having to G assist for their grade 3. Also looks like they have found the one copy of Honolulu they are running, presumably. Honestly, despite their bad luck, they seem to have found their one copy that greatly hinders our deck. They ride Reindeer, call Honolulu Mistoff, use Reindeer's effect. Seems like they will go into Laura, use her effects, and call the board out. Here, I think they're just trying to decide what exactly, yeah. And then they give power to the cabinets. They're using Stereo Effect, discarding the Lizalot in their hand, adding Rubora, which is part of their uh, disruption combo. They then swing Vanguard, which I know about. They check a draw, they further give power to the rearguard. And these are pretty big numbers for me to be facing on grade 2. Here I'm debating how much should I spend in order to guard. And in the end I decided to use my guardian ticket I got from Holly and crit and take the French check. Next thing I turn, right into Jet, saying with Hanley aboard, I won't be able to do my standard Steam Maiden combos. I go into Slishima and just thinking on board placement. And definitely calling. Oh, not, this is a incorrect play that my opponent caught, but I can't add. But Nabu is a Steam mechanic, not a Steam Maiden. I call another Gear Cat. I find a Tirana off of it, funnily enough. I choose to call her not user effect because there's only one more Gear Cat in deck, and I think I'd rather save it. Here I just go into battle. They take it, getting a defensive draw crit. I use Eternus effect. Find the fourth Gear Cat. Here, yeah, I choose to add the Gear Cat to hand and then bind the Alu. I didn't use Slushimus effect. I was floating up Hong Wong, then call out Atrara and Alu. I use Alu's effect. Bind Elu from drop to gain additional power. Here they then PG here. I then check a crit, a draw, and then a blank. I swing with Atrara, uh, for, forcing them to guard. They end up using Primrose effect, which allows her to call Rubora and then bounce the remaining attack I had. I can still at least use Citron's effect. Ooh, and find a heal guard that I could use. Yeah, and then since that's the end of the turn, I then have to discard down to 8 cards for missed off since both of us are grade 3 or greater. I think here I miscount the number of cards I have to discard. And I thought it said 6, but instead it's 8. So I choose to add back the 2 grade 1s and then pass it back to my opponent. They then are able to stride the hell out Shooter. It seems like they drew their OT for turn. That's unfortunate. They're oh wait a minute. Mermail could not put the OT back, though I didn't realize it at the time, but they have to reveal it for me. And despite that, they start attacking. This swing I intercept with a trial. Here I go to G-Guard and I wanted to use Hetero Dragon, another G-Guard that we have in the clan, to remove the French on board so that they couldn't bounce back a card to then be able to play for Halatrudis effect. As, though, as you saw in the deck, I actually don't run it. So instead, I'm forced to G-Guard with History Vision and discard the Great Three I had in hand. They then bounce back Conway to then discard it for Halatrudis effect. Here, they actually do reveal. I choose to guard with the OT in hand, and they check 3 blanks. They then swing a reindeer. I believe, yeah, I use Uluru's effect. Choosing to put back Uluru, completely forgetting that I could also have put back the OT, which would have been funny. Here's a swing, check 2 more blanks. And let's see, will they choose to ride? Lupina is potentially a good choice, and Zeka, because you could potentially get a draw off the Asylum after. Yeah, it looks like you choose to go to Lupina to get 2 more attacks off this attack, off of this column. The attack of French that I take, I think we get defensive. Here, here I'm realizing that I have to save the strike kit. So instead I go into Bearlock, binding the rest of my board, and thankfully they don't check any more triggers. Right? But it seems like they have somehow in 6 checks checked 0 triggers. And then start my turn with an empty board and nothing but Gear Cat and a PG. I go into Groovy, flipping up next stage and then copying next stage in Hong Long. I call Gear Cat, hope to find something I can use. I unfortunately don't. I think, yeah, I should at least call the PG behind the angle. Here, they have to nearby because they essentially have no value, and I end up checking double crit. Yeah, and yeah, it seems like it's just a bad day for them. Checking 0 triggers and 6 checks. So we're back with the deck. As you saw, yeah, as you saw, even under Honley, the deck was still able to perform and gain advantage using the Etara we found. Even even though I couldn't show you the full potential of the chronovisor line. I could at least show you just, even though I couldn't show you the full potential of the chronovisor of the heritage line, and I hope you were at least able to notice that our first Slishima has to flip up Honglong in order to then progress into Gear Groovy and then hopefully Heritage after that. This deck is a lot of fun to pilot between the different between with the combos lines that you have to try and find, right, and execute. Right. While I showed off a rather simplified version of the deck, recently a Steam Maiden list topped a BCS that you can look at. I'll have the link to the decklog in the description. But I hope that you can use both this list and list at top to help further your multi-attack plays. I hope you enjoyed this showcase of Steam Maiden. Thank you for coming to the museum. Have a great day.